Okay, I'm here again, ASAC, back with another video. Today is going to be all around the inside and the outside of the aircraft, what does what, why we need them, and stuff that we need to check. And we're going to do the outside as if it was a checklist situation, because it will give me a chance to explain everything on the inside and out of the external things. I am using the default Cessna 152. I don't normally use this, so it might take me a second, but I use the JP Logistics 152, which is a free download, and it just makes this aircraft so much more realistic. But I'm using this one today because I know everyone has it. So we're going to get started. We're going to start with as you approach the aircraft, so you want to look around the aircraft and make sure that there are no tie downs or anything stopping you from moving. You're just going to jump in and go after that. So first we'll jump in the aircraft, we'll do the external first, and then we'll do the inside. So when you get to the aircraft, you'll open the door, you'll switch the master switch on, you'll put all your lights on and your pitot heat, which we'll go over in a bit, and then we'll put the flaps all the way down. Okay, and then we'll go around the outside, make sure everything's working. So got the flashing light on the tail, that's working. We've got the red light on the left wing, that works. The landing light is working. The right wing, the green light and the strobe's working, did check that on the left. The white tail light is working. I've got the white flashing light on the left wing. So go back in, we'll switch the master switch off first, and then we can switch all the lights off and the pitot heat, and then just want to check the pitot, make sure it has warmed up. That is this metal bar here, should get warm if it's working. So I'm going to treat this as it's a real world situation, so you can take what you want from it out and use that in the simulator. So first of all, right, we've just switched the master switch off, so we'll get out, shut the door, and then we start checking the aircraft. We've got the strut for the wings on both sides. So to check them, you're just checking that they are secure, give it a good tug. You've got no cracks, no major issues with the strut. It's also important while you're around this area that underneath the window there's a row of screws. They can work loose with the vibration of the aircraft, so it's a good idea to check that. Now you're also checking the surface for general wear and tear. Now here, don't know if I can get an angle to see it properly, but you've got on the wheel, there's normally in the real world there's a red mark and a red mark on the hub. They should be lined up. Sometimes they creep, and if they have creeped, then you need to get the wheel looked at by an engineer. Okay, this is the suspension leg, the landing gear strut. On the inside you'll also have brake disc, brake pads, and lines for the brake fluid. Just make sure they're secure, they're working, and they've got no leaks around them. So now we'll get on to the fun stuff. We've got the edge of the wing has got the white flashing light and the red light on this side, just making sure that's all clear, no dents, these are not broken. And this is the leading edge of the wing. We again check that for any dents or anything that may have misshaped the wing, because that will affect the lift that we have. And then there's the pitot, we've already checked that. We also need to check there's a little hole in the engine that's free. If anything gets blocked, that will stop the aircraft from reading airspeed, which is the key to flight, so that has to be clear. That's just your tie down hook. Okay, also we have the aileron on both far edges of the wing, and the aileron moves as you turn the yoke. The yoke is the control in the middle of the right in front of you, and you'll have the same on the passenger side on most aircraft. So the idea with the aileron is if you turn left, the left one goes up. If you turn right, the right one goes up. And what's happening is you turn left, the airflow hits the top of the aileron and pushes that wing down. So that's forcing the aircraft to bank to the left. Same as if you turn right, it's hitting the top of that one, pushing the right wing down, and it's banking right. Again, it's also working on the other side as well, so turning right, the airflow under here is hitting the bottom and pushing this wing up, helping it to bank right. Now, if you're checking the aircraft, you want to really be, can't really get a good angle on this, but you want to lift that up and look in there. There should be some linkages that you need to make sure are secure, and there's a little bit of free movement, but the nuts are secure. We have got some things there you keep checked, the anti-static lines. You've also got the flap here. The flap is designed to give you extra lift at a slower speed, so it helps you slow down, but it also gives you more lift. So that means that when you're taking off, if it's a very short runway, you can put a little bit of flap down, which means you don't need such a fast speed to have the lift to take off, so you can take off sooner. Also, when you're landing, means you can slow down, but also because that is helping you slow down, you can point the nose down and you can see the runway, so it makes life a lot easier. Again, there are linkages and stuff in there, you just need to give it a wiggle. I mean, I'll give it a go. There, you've just, that's the flap movement there, so you just give that a wiggle, make sure it's not free flowing, it's not going to move out of your way or anything. And again, we're checking both sides of the strut, we're looking at that. You've got the step there, that is the step up onto the wing. Now, most people like to have a sequence to the aircraft checks, which is, in my case, I like to use mechanicals, electricals and chemicals. So I am doing the outside mechanical bits, then I will do the electrical bits on the inside, and then I'll do the chemical bits, which is oil and fuel. So got a little vent here that allows cold airflow into the aircraft for hot days. You can open and close that. You've also got, you can't really see it there, you can't zoom in far enough, but there is a small like pinprick hole in the side of the aircraft. Now that measures static. Static is very important for some of the instruments, and if that gets blocked, then it needs to be unblocked, otherwise you'll have some misreadings from the instruments. Moving around to the front of the aircraft, got the propeller. Obviously the propeller pulls you forward, so the widest part of the propeller is the way it turns. So for example, on this one, it's angled forward from the cockpit on the left hand side, so we know that the propeller, as we're looking at it, is going to go anti-clockwise. So we've also got the landing light there, which we've already checked, that works. Just need to check the condition of the propellers, make sure there are no cracks or anything major on there. Landing light we know works. That's the exhaust there, and then we're checking in here for, there's a belt that goes around the inside of the back of the propeller. That's the alternator belt. We need to make sure that is secure and it's not frayed or anything like that. We check in here for birds' nests, because if the aircraft's been sat for a while, they do like to nest in there. Again, on the front you've got the tyre to check. You've got the, no brakes on the front wheel, but you've got creep marks. And this is the oleo strut, basically front suspension. That needs to be at least 4 finger widths high. If it's any lower, then you risk prop strike on taxi, landing, takeoff, whatever. So that's that. Okay, there is a flap on here to access the oil, but there you go, you just press down on that, you open it up, and then there's like a dipstick like you would have in a car. Also you'll have a little lever that says pull, which is for fuel testing, which needs to be done before every flight as well. That allows a bit of fuel to come out. Underneath here there's a small pipe, I don't know if you can see it, there's a small pipe. If you pull the lever, fuel comes out of there and you need to catch it in, it's like a plastic tube, and you can see if there's any water in the fuel. It will be obvious because the aviation fuel is light blue and the water obviously clear, and they separate because the densities are different. So you just keep doing that until there's no water in the tank. I've only seen water in the tank a couple of times and it's only taken one pull of that to get rid of it. You've got the same in the wings, which we'll go through in a minute. You've got another step there and a handle to get up onto the wing. To check your fuel, you take the fuel cap off, you've got a dipstick and you dip the tank. There is a fuel gauge inside, but on the very small aircraft the fuel gauge isn't that reliable, although in the sim it is. So you've got a little pin here that holds the door on. You've got to check that. You've got another cold air intake for the cabin of the aircraft. I forgot to go over the stall warner. The stall warner is only on one side of the aircraft. You've got a little hole there. You need to suck on it. It should make a whining noise, and then that's fine. If it doesn't make any noise, then it's blocked, and you need to get that sorted because you need the stall warning in case of any issues. Again, you've got the strut on this side, you've got the flap, you've got to check the leading edges, you've got that flap been over all that. It's the same on this side as the other side. You've got the linkages and that in there, you've got the step, and then you've got the same on this side with brakes, tyre, hub and the creep marks. And again on this side you've got the screws that tend to come loose above the door there. And then you can't really see it on this aircraft, you can't zoom in close enough to see it, but under here, roughly there is another fuel drain, which on your drain sampler, fuel sampler, you will have a little sort of stick you push up into the hole and it will drain the water into the cup, and again you're checking for water and stuff like that. So after you've checked all the strut, the legs and the tyre, brakes and all that, then you're coming back round here, making sure the whole side of the aircraft is fine. Then on the tail section you've got the vertical stabilizer, which is the front section of this. The bit that's moving is the rudder. Okay, that's directional control left and right, but that is not banking, that is level sort of turning, so that is used done by pedals in the cockpit. There you go. And it's the same in there. You've got the linkages and stuff in there that you need to make sure are secure. Check both ways, make sure this area is free because it needs that room to move, and there should be stops on the insides of the rudder that it's hitting. They can be adjusted, but generally they're fine. Now this bit here is the elevator that controls pitch up and down. So pitch is pitches nose up, nose down. It's the same theory as the ailerons. The air hits the top of the elevator, pushes the tail down, lifts the nose up because of the centre of gravity. So that will make you climb, you push forward, and it will make you descend. For the same theory, again you need to check linkages and stuff underneath there. And here you have the trim bar. Now the trim is, there's a little tab on the end of the elevator. Now I'll see if this is modelled correctly. Yeah, it seems to be moving. So the trim moves very slightly by a control wheel that is in the aircraft. So there it is, there's the wheel. So if you just move it a little bit, you'll find that trim tab on the tail is adjusting. Now what that does is, instead of having to hold the controls as you're taking off, for example, you can trim it. This tab adjusts like a tiny elevator, which means you can let go of the controls, and if you have it trimmed right, you can let go and it'll still be climbing how you want it to be. And then again, you got the same on this side, but there is no trim tab on this side, so that's fine. You've got to check any aerials, anything you've got on the aircraft as well, and then we can jump inside to do the inside checks. So, oh, left the masters on. Right, so what we're going to do, go over everything that's in the cockpit. I'm not actually going to do the checklist, I'm just going to tell you what's what. This is the airspeed indicator, and this here is what we call the 6-pack. All aircraft have these instruments in one way or another. So, airspeed indicator is the most valuable instrument you have. Speeds are different in every aircraft depending on weight, size, performance and all that, but you've got down here is the minimum speed. You really don't want to be anywhere near that. If you're anywhere sort of below sort of 50 in this aircraft, then I don't know what that was, but yeah, if you're anywhere below 50 in that aircraft, then it's getting close to stalling, which is when the aircraft has no lift and you're just going to fall. If you're ever in that stall situation, just point the nose to the ground and build up your speed. You've got a white arc on here. That's the safe operating speeds for the flaps. So anytime you're below 80 knots, 85 knots, you can operate the flaps. Then you've got this band here. This aircraft cruises at 90 knots. But anywhere within this green arc is a safe speed. Anywhere in the yellow is a dangerous maneuvering speed. So you really don't want to be doing any harsh turns or anything while you're in that yellow arc. But realistically, you won't ever be in that yellow arc unless you're doing something silly. So here you have the attitude indicator. Now, attitude is what we use to, it's what we call basically the horizon. It's showing how level your wings are and if you're pointed up or down. Standard clock, you've got the altimeter reading at the moment 1,870 feet, something like that, because the airport is 1,870 feet above sea level. So that's that. We've got on the altimeter, we get different settings. I won't go over too much at the moment, but if you can press B on your keyboard, that will set it automatically to the local area pressure, but it can be adjusted with your mouse on this knob here. Press B and I'll reset it. This is a localizer, basically used for navigation. You set your radio to whatever you're pointing to, whatever you want to get to, and then you can adjust these to, say, if we want to fly to somewhere that's north of you, you can either put north on here and then you follow the these lines move, so you follow that left or right to get onto the right line to have a north heading from wherever you want to go from. If you just want to do it from wherever you are, it's the same thing. You put it in your radio, but then you turn this until the line lines up with the center, and then you just follow that. Always make sure that says to if you're flying. These are little flags, they change. Make sure it says to if you're flying to something, or from if you're flying away from it. If you get it wrong, you'll be flying in the wrong direction. That's the same thing down here. These also have ILS capabilities, which are the instrument landing systems. This is for when you're on approach to a runway. Again, you set your radio frequency, and then it will tell you go up or down, left or right. That's so if you really can't see the runway very well, you can just follow this and it will guide you into the runway. Okay, we'll go back over here. Vertical speed, that's fairly obvious. It's up and down in hundreds of feet per minute. So you know, you can probably expect 700 to 1,000 feet in this aircraft, depending on winds and direction of the winds and stuff like that. Then we've got the DI, the direction indicator, which is not a compass. It works on various things and sort of complicated stuff, but basically it's a compass, but it's not a compass. You've got your main compass there, that is true to life, but because it's a compass, it's in water and it floats about, and it's hard to read sometimes, especially if you're in rough air. So this needs to be set to that one and tells you which direction you're heading. This has a tendency to drift because it works off gyros, so every 10-15 minutes you need to readjust it to the center compass, which that's a whiskey compass. This is a direction indicator. So to do that, you can either try and do it manually, or because it's a sim, you can hit D and it does it for you. So now we've got the turn coordinator here. Now as you're flying, that'll tell you again if your wings are level along with this, but if you're doing a coordinated turn, really you want that ball to sit in the middle. So if you're banking to the left, you'll probably find that ball will drift over, so you want to press the correct pedal. So if the ball drifts to the left, you want to press a little bit on the left pedal and it should come back into center. So, but you know, that's for, you know, I don't know why people use it. I've never really paid much attention to the drift unless I'm on final approach. And then you've got the radios, communications radio. You've got two communications radio in this aircraft, two nav radios here. Now you set the frequency on the standby frequency using inner knob for one thing, outer knob for the other, and then to actually set the frequency you hit the middle button and then they change over. Same with the navigation. Okay, then we've got the transponder, 1200 in America or 7000 in England for VFR, or if you're in touch with the tower they will give you a code so they can see you on radar. Standby on these old ones, it needs to be on standby to change frequency and then set it to alt for people to recognise it, so it's actually working. We've got the tacho here, tachometer or RPM gauge. That's obvious. You want your cruise power to be roughly in the middle of the green arc. That sort of works mostly with other aircraft as well. And never really idle below 1,000 while you're on the ground, because you can foul up spark plugs and stuff like that. So we'll move on over again. We've got the ADF needle, works together with his ADF radio. Now there are not many left anymore, but they are very handy. Generally find them on an airfield, so you tune this frequency in. You've got 3 numbers, tune it in there, you go, and then it will appear on here. It will just point to the direction of whatever it is you have set in there. So it's very handy for finding airfields. It only has a range of about 10-15 miles though, 10-15 nautical miles, so you have to be reasonably close to whatever it is for it to be pointing there. Got the ammeter here, tells you if it's charging or not. At the minute it's not charging because obviously the engine's not running, no alternator running. And then we've got cabin heat, that's hot air, cabin air, that's those little vents on the side. The flaps, that's those flaps that are on the wing, that's the control for that. Okay, we've got the mixture there, which is the fuel mixture. Now a lot of people don't really play with the fuel mixture. I mean, they put it in to take off, they pull it out to light after to shut down. But really, if you're going to do it properly, you want to use the mixture and pull it back when you're in cruise, so it's tricky to get the hang of, but when you're in cruise you've set your cruise power in the green arc there. If you pull this back slowly, you will hear the RPM peak a little bit, or just spike just a tiny bit, so you really have to watch it, and then you just push it forward a little bit, and that is optimum fuel for the altitude that you're at, and that is what's in the flight manual. So if something says you will take this much fuel in an hour, that is with the optimum mixture set. So if you have it on full, you're going to be using more fuel than you need to be. So then you got the throttle, which is power, which controls the RPM of the engine. Under here you've got all the circuit breakers and fuses. If you are checking these when you're on a lesson or whatever, it is very obvious when they have popped out. Like these aren't modelled, but you know, just run your finger along them, and if something has popped out, you'll know about it. Okay, we've got the carb heat, that needs to be on. See if it works. Yep, that needs to be on any time the aircraft is below this green arc on the RPM, unless you're on final approach or on the ground. That's because when you've got the carb heat on, you do lose a tiny bit of power. Obviously, if you're on final approach, you might need to whack on full power if something happens and you need to go around. And on the ground we leave it closed because it opens a flap, so if you're on the ground it can suck in dirt and any sort of grass or whatever might be on the ground. So then this is instrument lighting. Here you've got the magneto switch. The engine starter works on the magnetos left and right. They need to be checked before takeoff, but for the most part they're left on both after starting the engine. And you've got the master switches, which is like a double switch. It's one switch but it's two switches. So you've got the alternator switch and then you've got the actual battery switch. You want those both on every time you use it, really. So you've got the primer. On a cold day you might want to give it 2, 3, 4 primes depending on how cold it is, what's going on outside. Parking brake, you need to press. For the real aircraft you need to press on the brake, then pull this out, then release the brake. Don't need to do that in the sim. Okay, we've got oil temperature and pressure gauges, and then fuel quantity gauges. Now they are working at the minute, but in the real aircraft you'll probably find that these aren't working, which, you know, that's just a thing with small Cessnas. Pipers generally tend to be better. And the light switches, we haven't gone over those yet. Got the dome light, that's the light inside the aircraft. Pitot heat, that's that pitot on the wing that I was showing you earlier. There. Okay. And then we've got, what else we got? Nav, those are the red and green lights on the wings and the white light on the tail. Strobe lights are the flashing lights on the wings. Beacon is the red flashing light on the tail, because it used to actually be a rotating beacon back in the day. Then you've got taxi and landing lights on, so you've got, they are both on the front of the aircraft. I only noticed one actually, but let's have a look. Taxi light, landing light, yeah, they're the same thing. So I think that's pretty much it. We've been through the trim, how it works. We've got rudder pedals. The pedals are separated into, you've got the pedal itself to turn the rudder that we went over earlier, and then toe brakes on the toes, so that will obviously hold you steady. Most of the time you're holding it on the toe brakes, you don't really use the parking brake that much. Got a microphone here for contacting the tower, not really used very much anymore, because you've got these headphone jacks, which most people do use. Headphones, door handle, door grabby thing, and the window not modelled unfortunately. Ashtray, although never smoke in a plane, bad idea, because a lot of the stuff in a plane is flammable and toxic if it catches fire. You've got these in the real world, these pull out, that allows cold air in as well, or you can push it in. One of them has a temperature gauge on it for outside air temperature, again that can pull out for cold air. So if you're flying in a hot country or on a really hot day, it does get warm in the aircraft. And you've got sun visors there, seat belts, obviously there are seat belts somewhere. And then another important one is in between the seats you have a little lever here. That is the fuel switch. It's pretty much just a main fuel switch. Now most flying clubs just leave it on most aircraft, saves you messing about with it, although it is on the checklist so you've got to check it anyway. But that's pretty much it for the 152. Storage spaces, that's it. And I think that's pretty much everything around the 152. If I've missed anything, or if you want to know anything about anything else, just leave a comment and I will get back to you. If you like the video, hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.